Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to go over another example illustrating how to convert SI units of length, as well as some additional practice questions. So with this example number 2, I'm going to use both methods that I showed last time. We're going to use logic, and then we're going to use unit analysis. And of course, you are free and welcome to use whichever method makes sense to you, as long as you show your work and you write your units. So in the previous example that we did in the other video, we converted meters to centimeters. So we went from a larger unit to a smaller unit, and we multiplied by 100 here. In this specific example, we're going to go from meters to kilometers. So that's a smaller unit to a much larger unit. So let's start by using some logic. I'm going to first use the property or the conversion that takes us from meters to kilometers and vice versa. From your formula sheet, we know that 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. Okay, so here I want to convert the 3,500 meters into a kilometer. So let's use logic here for a second. I have 3,500 meters. I'm going to split that into groups of 1,000. Okay, and the reason I do that is because every 1,000 will give me 1 kilometer. So here I have 3,000, so that's 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters. So that's 3,000. What's left? We have 500 meters left. So together, all of these, 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 500, give me 3,500 meters. And just note how every time I write a number, I write the units. Okay, we have to know what those numbers represent. Well, from our property, we know that 1,000 meter is equivalent to 1 kilometer. It is equal to that. So here, instead of writing 1,000 meters, I'm going to write 1 kilometer. And here I'm going to write 1 kilometer. And here 1 kilometer. Now, for the 500 meters, 500 is half of 1,000. So this one is not going to be 1 kilometer. It's going to be half a kilometer because it's half 1,000. So now, whoops, I wrote meters. That should be kilometers. Okay, so now let me combine them. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus half. So that's 3.5 kilometers. And that's the answer. 3,500 meters is equal to 3.5 kilometers. So now let's take that logic and turn it into an operation. Okay, what we did is we basically created groups of 1,000. Okay, creating groups of 1,000 means that we are dividing. Okay, we want to know how many groups of 1,000 we have. So let's erase all of this, and we're going to write the conversion underneath the question here. So we know that we have 1,000 meters equaling 1 kilometer. I'm going to line these up. The meters are on the left, so this is 1,000 meters, and the kilometers are on the right because the kilometers are here. Okay, how did we get from 1,000 to 1? Well, we divide by 1,000. And try this in your calculator. What's 1,000 divided by 1,000? That's 1. So that's the operation that we're going to use. That means to go from meters to kilometers here, I'm going to divide that number by 1,000. So 3,500 divided by 1,000 is equal to 3.5 kilometers. Okay? And what we're essentially doing here is we're just creating groups of 1,000, right? So that's one way to convert. Okay, so just make sure that when you use this method, you always write the conversion. Take your time and determine how you can get from 1,000 to 1. And then whatever you do to do that, you have to do the same thing here. Okay, all right, so I'm going to just erase the bottom part of this, and I'm going to show you the unit analysis. So that's the other method, similar to what we did here. Okay, so I have 3,500 meters, and I want to convert that into kilometers. Okay, and we said we multiply by 1. Okay, so that 1, I'm going to convert it to a fraction. I have this property, 1,000 meters is 1 kilometers. They're equal to one another. So if I divide them by one another, they're just equal to 1, right? And vice versa. 1 kilometer over 1,000 meters is just equal to 1. So which one do I choose, this one or this one? Well, I want to cancel out the meters. The meters is now at the top. I want it to be at the bottom so I can cancel it. That means I'm going to go with this one. Okay, so I'm going to erase that 1 here, and I'm going to write a fraction, 1 kilometer at the top and 1,000 meters at the bottom. Okay, and now I'm just going to do math. So this meter and this meter, they cancel. Then I have 3,500 times 1 divided by 1,000. So I'm going to write that in the margin. 3,500 times 1 divided by 1,000. And remember, fraction means division. Okay, so do that in your calculator. 3,500 times 1 is 3,500. Divide by 1,000, that is 3.5. So here I have 3.5. Okay. All right, so that is the second example. Now let's do some practice questions together. I'm going to leave the questions here for a few seconds. Feel free to pause and try them by yourself before you come back and watch the solutions. Okay, so in order to solve these questions, you will need your formula sheet with you. In the first question, we're converting between centimeters and millimeters, and I know from my formula sheet that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. Okay, I'm going to use one method here, which is logic, but if you want to use unit analysis, you can too. Okay, so I can see that on the left I have centimeters, so I'm going to write 1 centimeter on the left. On the right I have 10 millimeters, so I'm going to write 10 millimeters on the right. It's important that I line up my units. They have to be consistent. All right, so how do I go from 1 to 10? Do I multiply or divide? Am I creating groups? No. So here, to go from 1 to 10, we multiply by 10. 1 times 10 is 10. So I do the same thing to the question at the top. So I have 8.42 times 10. And feel free to use your calculator for that. The answer will be 84.2. So let me create some room here. The answer will be 84.2 millimeters. Okay, so that's the answer here. All right, let's try the next question. I'm converting millimeters to meters. So the conversion is 1,000 millimeters is equal to 1 meter. Okay, so let me line these up. So 1,000 millimeters, this is millimeters, this is millimeters. They're going to go on top of one another like this. This is meters, so I'm going to have meters here. How do I go from 1,000 to 1? Do I multiply or do we divide? The answer is we divide by 1,000. 1,000 divided by 1,000 is equal to 1. Notice that this number that we multiply and divide by is always the number in the property, because we're creating groups of 1,000 or groups of 10, right? So whatever I did to that bottom, I have to do to the top. So I am going to divide by 1,000. Okay, so 1,429 divided by 1,000, that's going to be 1.429 meters. Okay, I'm just going to highlight so that the answers look a little bit more clear. Here we go, and here we go. All right, so let's try that last question. This one is really interesting. We're converting kilometers to centimeters. And if you look at the formula, the conversions here, we don't have a single one that relates kilometers to centimeters, do we? However, we do have kilometers to meters, and then we have meters to centimeters. So we're going to solve that conversion in 2 steps. Okay, we're going to convert the kilometers to meters first. Whatever answer we get, we're going to convert that into centimeters. Okay, there's a faster way, and I'll show you that after. But let's take the long way now, okay? So let's go from 0.82 kilometers to meters first. Once we figure that out, we're going to go from meters to centimeters. So we're going to go in 2 steps, okay? All right, so we're going to focus on this part only and ignore everything else. So how do we convert from kilometers to meters? Well, the property says that there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So now I'm going to line these up. The kilometers will go underneath the kilometers. The meters will go underneath the meters. Okay, how do I get from 1 to 1,000? I multiply by 1,000. So here I'm going to multiply by 1,000. Okay, and the answer to that will be 820 meters. Okay, so now instead of focusing on the left side, I am going to focus on this side only, converting 820 meters into centimeters. So how do we do that? So I'm going to erase my work here. You shouldn't erase anything in your work, but I only have limited room on my whiteboard, which is why I'm erasing. But you should keep all your work in your modules and in your notes. So we're converting meters and centimeters. The property in our formula sheet says 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So let's line these up. The meter goes underneath the meters. The centimeters goes underneath the centimeters. Okay? How do we get from 1 meter to centimeters? We multiply by 100. So here I'm going to multiply by 100. So that gives me this answer right here, 82,000 centimeters. Okay? So that is the final answer. We've converted from kilometers to centimeters, but we just had to make a stop at the meters first before we convert to centimeters. Okay? So as promised, I said I was going to show you a shortcut when you have situations like this, right? So let's go back to this diagram here. Okay? So we were going from kilometers to centimeters. Okay? From here to here. If you don't want to make that jump in the middle to meters, you can just multiply these two together. Okay? So 1,000 times 100 is 100,000. So to go from kilometers to centimeters in one step, you multiply by 100,000. Okay? Why don't we actually try that together? So you're going to need your calculators. You're going to take 0.82 kilometers and convert it into centimeters. And we said that 1 kilometer is equal to 100,000 centimeters. So to go from 1 kilometer to 100,000, we multiply by 100,000, right? Let's fix that here. Let's put the 0 here, space, and then 0. So in your calculators, I want you to take 0.82 and multiply it by 100,000. And you should get 1, 2, and then this number right here. Okay, so that's just a shortcut if you don't want to stop at the meters. So this is how we convert SI units of length. So what you should do is you should practice so much, all types of questions. Go from bigger units to smaller units. Pick questions that have decimals and zeros and all of that before you move on to converting units of area and volume.